Dobro večer, molim bih vas da velikim pljeskom pozdravimo Gerbranda Bakkera, možda možda najveću zvijezdu suvremene nizozemske književnosti, koji je svojim romanima Gore tiho i to osvojio publiku i žirije i kritičare diljem svijeta. Molim vas jedan veliki pljesak. Sa našim književnikom razgovarat će Anka Godec, vlasnica Frakture, koja organizira čitav niz vrlo važnih i zanimljivih događaja u jednom prekrasnom hotelu u zaleđu Crikvenice. Molim jedan pljesak i za nju.
Hvala lijepo i hvala i organizatorima, jer sam i ja danas na neki način gost na ovom festivalu, ali vrlo mi je drago što dijelim pozornicu ovom pisem. Ok, nešto još ne funkcionira. Ja, ok, I'm talking. All the time. Zapravo
na kojem kanalu je? Na kanalu 2 je engleski, jel? Ok. Yep. Proste zbog malih tehničkih poteškoća.
Tako, evo, počnemo odgođe. Znači, vrlo mi je drago što mogu danas sudjelovati o tom događaju sa Gerbrandom Bakkerom, koji je rođen, sad ću da malo predstavljati, da ovi koji još nisu imali priliku da čitaju ovu knjigu. Rođen je, znači, 62. u Gerbrand u Sjevernoj Nizozemskoj, studirao lingvistiku i neko vrijeme titlovao filmove, da bi nakon toga postao diplomirani vrtlar. Prvi roman je napisao za mlade, zvao se Kruške cvataju bijelo, i nakon toga je napisao knjigu o kojoj ćemo danas razgovarati, i to je ta knjiga Gore tiho, koja je bila izuzetno uspješna. Kako čujem da je sada prevedena u 28 jezika, dobio razne značajne nagrade za to, čak i francusku nagradu, ali pogotovo nagradu Impact Literary Dublin Award. Osim toga je napisao etimološku enciklopediju za djecu i nakon toga sad novi roman koji će vrlo brzo isto izaći u izdanju Frakture, koji se zove Obilazak. Malo ćemo poslije možda isto o tom romanu razgovarati. Ja moram sad, ja sam to najavila da se ne bi čudila šta tako puno pričam, samo ću kratko govoriti o toj knjizi da znate o čemu se radi i onda ćemo ući u jedan razgovor.
I hear a dog.
Oh!
Does she have a dog?
I left my dogs at home.
I can hear a dog.
But maybe they followed me. So this book, no, wrong program. Na hrvatskom. Znači, knjiga govori o jednom čovjeku, zove se Gerbrand Bakker, koji živi isto tako u sjevernoj Nizozemskoj, sam na jednom imanju, krave i ovce i svakakve životinje. I s njim tamo živi stari otac. I knjiga već tako počne, tako sa nekom, nešto što se može zvati startni pucanj, sa nekom rečenicom smjestio sam oca gore. Odnose, njihove odnose nisu baš najbolji, jer to poslije saznajemo, Gerbrand je imao nekad brata blizanca koji je poginuo sa 19 godina u saobraćajnoj nesreći koja je skrivila njegova tadašnja cura. I u tom trenutku, tada, 67. Je Helmer studirao u Amsterdamu i volio svoj život tamo u Amsterdamu, ali kako je Henk, njegov brat, umro, je morao se vratiti na to imanje i naslijediti tu ulogu da radi na tom imanju. Znači, već nekoliko desetljeća su otac i sin, još neko vrijeme sa majkom, zajedno živjeli i Helmer je zapravo vodio život koji nije sam izabrao. Mi uđemo u tu priču u trenutku kad je njemu očito dosta, kad se želi riješiti tog oca, smjestio ga je stvarno gore u svoju bivšu dječju sobu, dole preokrenuo cijeli stan, sve pofarbao, novi namještaj i tako dalje. I nije prestao njegovati oca, ali sve se svodi na neki minimum. Tako da mi sada zapravo gledamo taj neki novi život koji on tu vodi. Ta knjiga, neću sada cijelu priču ponavljati, mi ćemo još neke točke tu izvaditi. Uglavnom je to knjiga koja govori o odnosu oca i sina, koja govori o Nizozemskoj, o životu na farmi, koja jako puno govori o samoći i koja, pogotovo što se tiče jezika, jako intenzivna knjiga. Jer se toliko toga zapravo i ne događa. Sve se događa na razini jezika. On ima jedan skroman, jednostavan jezik, sve je vrlo reducirano, lakonski napisao i to je zapravo to što drži non stop tu tenziju i napetost. Ne znam, možda je to, ima veze s time što se Gerbrand Bakker bavio lingvistikom i što inače se puno bavio jezikom. Taj jezik vama je jako važan u tom pisanju. Ili sam to samo ja tako osjetila?
It is so strange to be. I have to speak English.
Yeah. Yeah, the language. I tried to write other books before this book, and they were horrible, very terrible. Too many words, too many metaphors, too many everything. I wanted to be very moralistic. So they were really very bad. And what you said about the subtitling, I did this for 7 years in Holland. I subtitled The Bold and the Beautiful, and I very much liked nature programs. So, with elephants and lions in Africa and stuff. But especially these sitcoms, you can imagine that there's 3 English people, talking together, and I, as a Dutch subtitler, only have 7 seconds in 2 lines to put everything they say into Dutch. So by these 7 years of subtitling, I really learned to, skip the redundant stuff and just, say what's important. So that really, I think, helped me in finding a voice or a tone.
Otac i sin zapravo ne pričaju jako. Okay, we will switch to English. Is that okay? It seems a little artificial.
Because I am the only one here with. You don't have this.
The problem is, I am German, talking to you in Croatian, and you get it in English, but you are Dutch. So this is a little bit strange, isn't it?
Lay down.
Shall we talk in French? Okay.
No, but if you want to, it's easier, then everybody can understand what you are saying.
No, they can understand, there is no problem about it.
Okay. So the father and the son have this relationship, and they don't talk very much in this book. Especially when the father gets in his room upstairs. But sometimes this son seems to be very cruel, even cruel. There's, for example, a scene. He says, the father says, "I'm hungry," and the son answers, "Oh, I'm also hungry sometimes." You know, really conversations like that very often. But on the other hand, you have the feeling that from the moment he gets upstairs and from the moment he is physically in another floor, they even get closer. They get closer, at least in their heads, emotionally closer.
Yeah.
Is that what how did you?
Completely true. No, really. I didn't do it on purpose, I think. I'm one of those writers who just starts to write a book. I know nothing. I do not write following a theme. I do not write reading a short article in a newspaper. I just start to write something. And then sometimes it's okay, there is a book. And sometimes it's not okay, there is no book. It's as simple as that. So I did not do this on purpose, you know. I did not think beforehand, oh wait a minute, they've been together for 35 years in this house, and the mother is 10 years dead. You know, maybe if he puts his father upstairs, that's the moment that they start to grow together. I didn't do it on purpose, but I also noticed it myself, that this is what happens. The physical distance makes it easier for them both to interact, to get closer to each other. True.
As there is not very much contact and conversation between this father and the son, but also between the others, because later this girlfriend from the brother that died writes a letter to Helmer and sends him her son, 18 years, which is also called Hank, because she has some educational problems with him and she wants him to live on a farm and to become a better person. But whoever comes to this farm and to Helmer has these very redundant contact with him. And there's a big space for a lot of things in the imagination of the reader that could be there. So, for example, there's also some guy who's taking the milk from the cows, a driver, and he comes quite often. And they're also talking not very much, but and you just do not know what kind of relationship they had. Now in June they made, or the film was ready, they made based on this novel. And for example, concerning this relationship between this milk driver and Helmer, they kind of emphasize on a homosexual relationship, which is in the book only an idea, only a light possibility.
A hint.
Or even a hate. So in all these relationships, in everything what happens in the psyche of these figures, the reader has a lot of possibilities how to deal it, how to handle it, and what to understand. What do you think, for example, and that's the moment I would like to talk with you about the film, the adaptation of this film, because the film adaptation is one kind of reading of this book.
Let me then start by, because I just remembered now, one of the first readings I did in Holland was in a bookshop in Wageningen, which is a Dutch city. And this was a wonderful reading because the people who came to the reading all read the book, which for a writer is of course nice because they know what they're talking about. And we were sitting in a huge table and there were about 20 people. And let's say half of the table was in favor of this main character Helmer being gay, being homosexual, but the other half of the table said, no, he's not gay. And then they argued, you know, they had a fight. And then this went on for a while, and then they all looked at me. And then I said, well, I don't know. Whatever you like. If you want him to be gay, he's gay. If you do not want him to be gay, he is not gay. And I also know that, especially women, a lot of female readers in Holland didn't notice this hint, you know, of homosexuality in the book at all. So, in the film, that's true. You know, a book takes, for me, it takes usually half a year to write a book. You have lots of space, you have lots of time, you have lots of, you know, things you can write down. A film is just an hour and a half. So Nanook Leopold, who made the film, had to make a decision. You know, what is my focus? What do I want this film to be about? And you say, and you're right, you know, that this homosexuality is more of a hint than in the book. But even in the film, it's not, you know, for me, it's not about homosexuality. It's about contact. It's still very much about loneliness. But I love the film. I've seen it 4 times. And I did not want to have anything to do with the film as well. They asked me beforehand, do you want this or that? I said, no, nothing. You know, I'm a writer. I know nothing about making films. So, you know, you make this film and I'm curious to see what happens. Until they started filming, actual filming. Because then I thought, wait a minute, something like this is probably never going to happen again. When are people going to film one of your books? It's very special. So then I wrote the director an email and I said, can I please have a little part in the film? And then she said, yes, nice. So we both thought of the same part. So that was also good. So I went to the set an entire day to be maybe in the film about 6 seconds or something.
Which role did you have?
I deliver a bed. A very important part. Yeah. Wait till you see the film. Very important. Because this is one thing, you know, of his new life. That is buying a new bed, a twin bed with 2 pillows. So it's an important part. But I love the film. I thought it was wonderful. It flopped completely in Germany, I think.
No.
Yes.
There was this side critic now, 2 weeks ago, and they love it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can tell you.
Oh, sorry.
And they love it. They love also, especially they love the main actor.
Yeah.
Who died unfortunately, but he's really great. I have to admit, I didn't see the film. I just saw lots of trailers and I saw the making of the film, and I saw this actor talking about the role.
Yeah.
But he seemed to be really very, very engaged to fulfill and very impressive.
Yeah. He is. He was.
You said you thought it was more a novel about loneliness. I also read it like a novel on loneliness, and but it's not that kind of loneliness like
it's not horrible.
Sad.
No, it's not sad. No,
it's even just a novel about loneliness where there is no question if it's sad or nice. It's more a sort of being existentially lost somehow, which is something higher, which is something universal. And I like that very much about the book, or maybe the most. And it's something you have in all your books. because the book you wrote afterwards, the figure is a little bit the same with other problems, but a little bit the same. And another subject, which is also nearly in all our books, and I have to ask it, is animals. They are all the times animals in your books. You have here in this book, and I found it funny reading German critics about it. They said, "Oh, finally a farmer's book." And there are lots of cows, there are lots of sheep, and there's this bird. I don't know.
2 donkeys.
Yeah, donkeys, very important. And this bird, I don't know the English word for it, but in Croatian it's vrana. There's all the time this bird sitting.
I saw one this afternoon already. Yeah, here in the park. And I looked, is it a black one or is it a black-grey one? But it was a...
It was one from the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Normally.
So watch out.
And, but it's, you even wrote this animal diary. There was a diary where you wrote only situations where you had contact with animals, which could be dogs or donkeys or whatever. And as you had a year card for the zoo, there were also lots of other animals. What's about these animals? Why do you like them so much?
One step back. No, because you said a lot.
Yeah.
So no, it's okay. Because it has to do with each other. You said something about this loneliness, yeah, and is it some sort of, I always call it a peaceful kind of loneliness. And only years after I finished writing the book, I wrote this book in 2002, but it's 11 years ago, and so for me this is such an old book. But I still know what is in it. And only, that what happens if you write a book from, like the way I do, the back of my mind, that I don't know what I'm doing. It takes you sometimes years as a writer to really fully understand what the book is about. It took me some years to understand that my writing this book is about searching to my own existential loneliness or something. And this has to do with the animals as well, because I also found out that I am a human being, I can talk, we talk, but I'm not crazy, but I'm not, very normal. I find human interaction is for me very, stressful, very emotionally draining. So I think that I always try to find, like the main character in my last book, The Detour, I always try to find safety. I need a safe place. For me, this couch now, I like this couch. It's very safe. It's a wonderful couch. I sit okay here, it's fine. We met already this afternoon, which is also very good. But I always try to find safety. I want to be safe. I need to be safe. I feel safe when there's animals around me. And I'm also one of these people who, if I talk to children, even if they are 6 months old, they are the same as me, if you know what I mean. I make no distinction between a 51-year-old man or a baby, or a dog, or a horse, or a tapir, or whatever. For me, it's all the same. And that's maybe also something that comes through in the books, because that's me. I wrote them. So I can't help it. Something always happens with animals in this book. In the last book, which is, I only heard today, also going to be published by Fraktura, which is wonderful. I love it. There's this badger who bites bites the female character, you know, on page 34 or something. She's on a big stone in November, naked in the sun, and all of a sudden there's this badger, you know, coming from under shrubs, and the badger bites her in the foot. And this becomes a running gag in the book because everybody, the doctor says, "No, you're lying. This never happened here." And she said, "Well, you know, it happened to me." It's also so wonderful. If you're a writer, everything can happen. You can make everything happen.
Maybe we should just tell a little bit of the story of the detour. It's a book about a lady, just two sentences, about a lady who just disappears from her former life, and she travels to Wales, where she
Well, she doesn't travel there. The thing is, she is in Wales. Just like in this book, you know, it just starts, buff. The first sentence of this book is, "I've put father upstairs." And not, "I've taken him upstairs." No, "I've put him upstairs." So the tone is set right away. So it just starts. And from there, something happens. And the same goes for the detour. This woman is in Wales. Why? What for? You know, and so slowly you learn why she is there, why she fled her husband, why she fled her job as a university teacher in Amsterdam. And then there is this boy jumping off the fence of her garden, and he stays. He does not want to go away. And you have the impression, because she's swallowing enormous amounts of paracetamol, aspirin, you know, painkillers, you start to realize there's something wrong with this woman, but what? Well, then this boy, well, that's it. That's the whole book.
And
it's always, you know, that's the thing with all my books. This book was nominated for a literary prize in Holland 7 or 8 years ago. And then what they always do for television is that this guy comes up to you with a microphone and a camera, and then he says to you, "You've got 1 minute. Tell me what the book is about." And then, oh, okay. So I say, well, you know, the first sentence of this book is, "I've put father upstairs." And the last sentence is, "I am alone." And, well, nothing much happens, you know, in between. And there are friends of mine who already told me it's a bit of a redundant book, you know. "I've put father upstairs." And then 264 pages, "I'm alone." You know, why did you need all these pages? And then, whoops, you know, the guy with the camera and the microphone was gone. I thought that a minute was far longer. I wanted to explain, of course. You don't want to say on national television, "This book is about nothing." Well, I'm not very good on television. I get very nervous. Was it
I wanted to ask concerning this book, The Detour. I did want to ask, when we started to talk about animals, I realized, if I look all the books you wrote, that this main figure in the book, The Detour, is behaving like an animal, like a cat who is going away, trying to disappear, just which is.
And there is also this boy who jumps over the fence of a garden also has a dog. Of course, he has a dog, Sam. And what I've also noticed, you know, after writing 3.5 books, is that I also use animals as a sort of lubricant between. You know, it's for me it's wonderful to have. In the books it's of course different, but imagine here now having a donkey. For me, that's wonderful, you know, to use this donkey as a, how can I explain this, as a bridge, you know, in talking to you. You know what I mean? it's often in the books, you know, the animal, a dog, or like here the donkeys, are, you know, they serve, they bring people in contact with each other. That's what I mean, I think. And that's also why I, in all my books, meet animals. In my next book, I must really try for once to not put one animal in it.
What a pity.
Yeah, but you know, every now and then you must try something new. I don't know. Maybe it will fail. It will probably fail.
What is also interesting, I don't know, but in this book, The Detour, is that far more than in the other books, you can work with language, because the protagonist is she was a lecturer for translating, and she had the idea to write a dissertation about Emily Dickinson and to finish it there in Wales, but in the end you have just one poem in the beginning, and the 2 months she stays in Wales, she only, or which is already very much, really succeeds to translate this poem. So in contrast to the other books, here you're really talking about language, or she is all the time thinking about it.
And that's nice. If you, all my books are set in Holland, in the countryside, and then you could say, because in between, so between the Twin and the Detour, there was another book called June, in which a mother is very important. So, you know, I was finished with my father and mother after these 2 books. So it was time, you know, to do something new, or to go to a new place. And that's why I set this last book in the north of Wales. And that gives you, as a writer, it's wonderful, because there is this convention, of course, that I write my books in Dutch, and my readers are Dutch, if the book is not translated. But the readers in Holland, of course, understand that for their benefit, I already translated all the conversations that are, of course, in English in the book. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to understand, but that is a sort of convention, you know. But every now and then, I put some English in the book, because you can have between, well, all languages, of course, but between Dutch and English, you can have wonderful, how can I say this, wonderful misunderstandings. You have the word kite in English, which means a kite that you fly yourself on a rope, you know, a kite. But a kite in English is also a big bird, a very big bird, a Milan auf Deutsch.
Ja.
Ich weiß nicht, wie das in Kroatisch ist.
Zmaj in Milan.
And you know, if you use this, I've written a whole page about this. A terrible misunderstanding between the main Dutch character and this boy who is Welsh. And for a writer, that's wonderful, you know, to have this language as a material. And so in this book, the last book, I could use this far more than in all the other books. And I love to translate myself as well. I love to translate these little English or American poems. And this particular poem by Emily Dickinson, I've known it for a long time, and I never fully really understood it. So there you have it again. I've probably written the book, The Detour, you know, just to please myself, and to be able to do this translation of this very small poem at the end of the book. That's,
The poem, but also the whole book, is also a novel about death, of course.
It's always about death. Death and sheep. But maybe we should talk about this book.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Because
people
in
can
fact,
buy this book.
in fact, it's also a book about death. This
Yes.
is definitely also,
Oh, yes.
and there is someone dead in the end.
I wouldn't know what to write, you know. Well, I'm 51 now, and now I can imagine writing a book in which nobody dies. But there was a time that I could not understand how somebody could write a book in which nobody dies, you know, because then nothing happens. Strange.
Just one question concerning this book. This Helmer, he's a twin. He's a twin, and this book is also talking about his own identity or his own idea how he thinks he is, because it seems to be, I don't know, because I'm not a twin, that he was used to have this brother very close to him, a symbiosis, and whenever he looked at him, he saw himself, and then this horrible accident happened, and he was alone, and there's this book June, where you also have twins inside. Why is this twin idea so interesting for you? Is it?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
For me, it's so complicated to talk about it. You know, the easiest thing to say is that I'm extremely jealous of twins. Extremely. I so much want to be a twin, but I'm not. The other day I heard this story that there are quite a lot of people, maybe also people sitting here, you know, that we do not know that we are twins. Quite often, women, mothers, lose one of the two without them even noticing it. So then I thought, aha, that goes for me, probably. And if I ask my mother, which I have not done, you know, she will say, huh? No. No, but I'm very jealous. But there's also, you know, and that's the strange thing, and that's most feelable, that's not an English word, but in this book, it also has something to do with sexuality. This twin thing, and especially Helmer and Henk, the twins in this book, they were very, very close. Yes. Children, young boys, and really physically close as well. And then, you know, being severed from this well, actually physical you yourself, that must hurt so much. And I think that Helmer, the main character, is, you know, he's always looking for his lost twin. And you can, of course, never ever re-find a lost twin. So that's also the reason why, when I handed in the manuscript at my Dutch publishing house, it had 55 chapters. And they liked the book, and they said, oh, okay, we're going to publish it, which was wonderful for me, because at least 10 other publishing houses had rejected the book. And then, you know, only 2 months or so before the book was published, I woke up one night and I thought, whoa, there is something very, very wrong with this book. And then I wrote a chapter 65. And in this chapter, at the end of this chapter, like I've said already 5 times in the evening, the last sentence is, and had to be, I am alone. You know, finally, after 35 years, after losing this symbiotic twin, he realizes that he is alone. Really realizes. My mother cannot read my books. She says, oh, these books are horrible, they're always so sad. And I said, no, mother, my books are not sad. This last sentence, I'm alone, is a wonderful sentence. It's a new beginning. You know, after this last sentence, the book really begins. I haven't written it, but you know, only then does it really begin. Yeah, period. Was I going?
No, that was a good answer.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, there's always this strange, you know. Sexuality is always a strange thing.
I was
you know,
just asking because this book is called in English The Twin.
The Twin.
So
yeah.
you immediately have this idea of.
Yeah, and I agreed with this title, The Twin, in English, because in Dutch you have the word tweelingen. or tweeling, which always refers to the two. There is no word in Dutch for one of a twin. We don't have a word for this. Like in Holland, we lack a lot of words for family things. You know, I have a nephew, but my nephew can be, if you are my sister, ooh, let me think. If you are my sister, your child, your male child is my nephew. But, yes. But my nephew is also the child of my aunt. That's also my nephew. No, but in all the languages, there's different words, but we only have this one word, neefje. And you never know, is it you know, your child, or is it my generation, the child of an aunt? And we lack a lot of words for family ties. So we do not have a word for one twin. And that's why I agreed with this English title, because it's called The Twin, meaning one remaining.
Twin.
Meaning also, I thought, you know, that people would think, oh, what happened to the other one? You know, and then they would buy a book.
The Croatian name for twin is blizanac, and there is not this number 2 inside, but the thing that they are very near, very close inside, which is very, very interesting.
So there's also in Croatian not a word for one.
There is.
There is. Yeah.
Of course, you need
and
it.
they are also very sophisticated concerning the members of the family. Every role in the family is completely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's horrible in Holland. I know in Denmark, I go to Denmark a lot. Like you have a grandfather and a grandmother. In Holland you call them, I love language, that's why I go home. We call them opa and oma. Yeah? Opa, grandfather, oma, grandmother. But you never know which one. There's 4 of them. And in Danish you have far and far more. And more far and more. Yeah, mother's mother, mother's father. Wonderful. You need words like that. So we must always, and that's horrible, we Dutch writers always have to, you know, explain all this stuff. Which is, you know, I hate mobile phones. As a writer, I hate mobile phones. Since there are mobile phones, maybe you don't realize, but it is horrible, a mobile phone. Everybody knows at any given moment where somebody is, which is killing for a book. Killing. You so often want people not to know, you know, where they are or what happened to them. Everybody knows everything. So always, like I for instance did in The Detour, my last book, I had to have my main character lose her mobile phone. No, but that's horrible. I don't want to, because it's such an ugly sentence in the whole book. But I have to, because she can't have a mobile phone. It's horrible. And I do not want to write an historical novel. That's, of course, the solution. You can start writing historical novels. That's not my thing.
But Helga also doesn't have a mobile phone.
No, of course not.
He even doesn't watch very much TV.
He doesn't have a TV.
Which is a problem for this little young Hank coming to his farm. So, in fact, if you already understood, but I can only really recommend this book very, very deeply. That you.
Me too.
And recommend the next book to the publishing house and to the audience. But if you would, as we are talking now about families and all that, if you have any questions to him, he's here.
On my safe couch.
On his safe couch, so maybe he will even answer. Then do it now.
nobody has a question.
No, he
Yeah,
asked.
I'll ask the question.
Oh yeah, in Croatian.
In Croatian for beginning. Dakle, zanimljivo je, Nizozemska je najnapučenija zemlja, a vi stavljate svoje junake na farmu. Koliko i vaše vlastito iskustvo vam tu pomaže ili odmaže u toj stvaranju te posebne situacije? Dakle, u ovoj knjizi je posebna situacija potpune izdvojenosti i života na jednom gotovo izoliranom mjestu, možemo to tako reći, i onda se razvijaju ti odnosi. Koliko vam je to bilo važno? I koliko to zapravo, to je jedno pitanje, a drugo pitanje, koliko je to različito od drugih nizozemskih autora koji zapravo vrlo često s druge strane stavljaju u gradsku sredinu.
Well, I am a farmer's son, so that's what I know. You know, I've been brought up as a farmer. No, that's not true. I'm a farmer's son, but I was not very. I have 4 brothers and a sister, so there were 6 children, and I'm the 3rd son. So I was also redundant in a way. You know, we don't need you because we have 2 elder brothers, and it was fine by me because we all had to work every weekend on farm, and I liked it. I especially like this, you know, in winter, this very safe, warm, stable thing. That's I will just talk on. It's a very cheerful ringtone. So I think that what I also did in this book, and after a lot of failed books, like I told you, I tried to write books, and I've so many stuff in it, that I realized, you know, maybe I should just use what I know, and that's what I did in this book. And I personally do not like, we spoke about Cologne. Because you were born in Cologne as well?
No, I was born in the Black Forest.
Okay.
In the south of Germany, but
But you
most
lived in
time I
Cologne.
lived in Cologne.
Yeah, and for me Cologne is a city that's about 1.5 million people living there. That's far too big for me. I get lost, you know, in a big city. I think I haven't seen a lot of Zagreb, but I think this is just the right, you know, measurement for me. I think this is great. Not too big, not too crowded. A lot of nice alleys where you can go in and drink a cup of coffee or a beer quietly in a little yard. You know, not everything in the street. Okay. So I know about lonely nights, cold nights. You know, when and in a way I also need my main characters to be away from rush, busyness, you know, the big city. For the first time in this last book, I tried to write about Amsterdam a little bit, because this woman who flees to North Wales still has a husband in Amsterdam. And there are parts that take place in Amsterdam. And I think that I did quite okay. But for me, it was really the first time writing about, you know, but I don't need a city. It doesn't inspire me. It doesn't mean anything to me. But you're right, there are a lot of Dutch writers who thrive by the city, and who are totally lost when they have to write something about a cow, or grass, or So, it's my bio, how do you say this? Mobile phones are horrible, you know. I don't mind, but you know, it's for this lady, it's terrible. She's sweating from shame. That's horrible.
She should.
Yeah, it's my biotope. Huh? Oh, yeah. I'm always happy when I'm, for instance, when I am in a big city and I'm in a train and I leave this city. Whenever the train reaches the city limit, I'm really happy. Really, always. Because then it's green again.
Where personally, not in Amsterdam, or you live on countryside?
I live in Amsterdam, which is a very small city there. There's probably more people living in Zagreb. And how many people live in Zagreb?
The same as
850,000. So, and Amsterdam for me is doable. But it's also doable because I have been living there already for 27 years or something. I know this city. And that's different, of course. I hate strange cities. But I also have a house in the Eifel in Germany, in a village which consists of 7 houses, with a huge garden, and a piece of wood behind my house, but that's only since the 1st of December of last year. Then I had enough money. You shut it off now. Are you ashamed? Do you feel ashamed? Don't be.
Are there any other questions?
Maybe know what is the name of a film in German and in English, or the title of your film?
It's Goreticho.
The film.
Oben ist es still.
Yeah, so the film,
German name.
German name is Oben ist es still, and that's the same title as in this title, and in Holland.
And in English?
I think they're going to have a little bit of a problem because the film is sold to, I know, Ireland. They're going to have a little bit of a problem because in the film there is no trace of a twin. That's, flaps. And that's what I do when they make a film, they have to make choices. So there is no twin. So I don't know what they're going to name this film in England, and it's not my problem. That's the producer's problem. Yeah. And maybe the film is even coming here, There are film houses, of course, here.
Yeah, and it started on the 13th of June in Germany.
On the 13th of June in Germany, so it's really kind of realistic that it will come this autumn to Croatia. But I'm living in really...
Remote.
Yeah, it won't come there.
No.
Definitely not.
Well, you can do the DVD and then do a private screening for the hotel guests.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I could invite the writer,
Yeah.
for example.
Yes. And then I can do a 1-month writer in residence.
I think I can borrow my dogs with you, so you can have a walk with them.
Yeah.
And I have cats as well. And you don't have to take care of the children.
Good. And I would like to come in spring.
No problem.
See, it's wonderful, a festival like this. You always...
Yeah, it's really brilliant. Any other offers? Other places in Croatia maybe? for writers to stay. Imate još pitanja? Ne svi odjednom. Okay, I think we talked a lot, and it was really interesting, really nice, and I'm looking forward to spring when you're arriving to Karibaj. Thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you
very much
for listening us.
Interviewing me.
And goodbye, see you another time.
Hvala našem Godec, hvala Gerbrandu Bakkeru. Večeras još imamo večer kritičara, pozivam vas da ostajete. Sutra u 19 sati druga nizozemska autorica Nachricht der Mord a u 21 sat gospodin Bakker, Peter Terin i pod vodstvom Gorana Terčeca i Ivan Lovrenović raspravljat o tradiciju sistemu. Vidimo se sutra, ali i večeras. Hvala vam lijepa.